the second video of my Steven Spielberg series. If you remember, a few days ago I reviewed Duel, Spielberg's very first film, and now I'm going to Spielberg's, I think, third film that released theoretically, I think? And that would be Jaws, which I said I was going to review in the last video. Jaws is directed by Steven Spielberg and stars Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. It's basically just about this chief of police played by Roy Scheider, whose name is Martin Brody, who is faced with the problem of shark attacks on the beach in the city that they live in. There's been shark attacks from the same exact shark at that beach that keep happening, and it's coming to become a major problem because the mayor of the city want the people to go to the beach. And Roy Scheider can't really convince him that people shouldn't be at this beach because of all the shark killing. So he basically just has to go out with a team of shark experts, which are Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw, and they go out on this boat to find this shark down and kill him. So guys, everyone knows about Jaws. Most people have seen this movie. It's so well known. It was the first movie of all time to be considered as a blockbuster that made a lot of money, because before then theaters were just a casual thing that people just went to once in a while, but Jaws was the first movie that a lot of people saw. There was lines for this movie. It was the very first blockbuster of our time. And Steven Spielberg was the director of this movie, obviously, and he was pretty new at the craft at the time. He was a new director, so this was a very new and crazy thing. So guys, I've explained a little bit of my history with Jaws before. When I saw it when I was younger, I was freaked out. I was like, whoa, boom. And it just blew my mind because it was such an incredible movie and it scared me so much. It made me afraid to go in the water, and I was just really mind blown with this movie when I first saw it because I was so scared of going in the water afterwards, and it was so suspenseful and such a great movie. The opening scene of this movie, it's so well done. We don't know any of these characters. They're just some people camping out, and then there's just this random girl who gets eaten to death. We get to see her get eaten, and it's disgusting, and it's disturbing, and it immediately gets you hooked because of how disturbing it is. Literally, right in the opening scene, they're able to hook you in. We get introduced to characters like Martin Brody afterwards, who's this guy that has to deal with this mayor who's really greedy and doesn't care about the lives of his citizens. One of the things I really like about Jaws is that it's not just a basic movie where the shark is just killing people and they have to stop it. Spielberg actually gives so much time to help you care about the characters in this movie. Roy Scheider, he gets fleshed out. He has so many great character moments, especially with his son. I really like the moment where they're at the table, he's really stressed out, and his son is just sort of mimicking his actions. Spielberg gives us so much time to get into the characters. So it's not just a simple thriller. It's a lot more because of the characters that are in this movie. There's other great scenes with Brody, when the woman whose son was killed by the shark comes up to his face and she blames him for the death of her son. It's so heartbreaking because Brody just has to stand there and watch it happen. He can't do anything about it because he blames himself for what happened. It's such a great character moment. There's just so many great character moments spread throughout Jaws that make you love these characters. They really get you invested in what's happening in these characters' lives because they need to do that in order to make these characters likable, and they go full forward with it. Each of the characters are fleshed out so well. They give you a lot of time to get to know these characters, so when they're facing perils against the shark, it's really suspenseful stuff. Spielberg knew that these characters need to be fleshed out in order to be interested in them, and that's what made Jaws so great, the characters. Because the characters are so good that they make scenes that don't involve the shark still as good as the shark scenes. One of the best scenes in the movie is literally just Robert Shaw talking about incidences he's had with the sharks, and he's sort of comparing scars with Richard Dreyfuss. That scene is brilliant, and it's literally just characters talking in a room. And the reason it's so great is because it's a great character moment. Spielberg was able to make great character moments, and Spielberg has even said that his favorite scene of the movie is that conversation in the boat at night. And like I mentioned earlier, this movie is so suspenseful. Everything in this movie is so suspenseful. It's easily one of the most suspenseful movies I've ever seen in my life, especially the first time I saw it. I was mind blown with how much suspense I was feeling. The suspense in this movie is so good is because we never see the shark. It's always underwater. We can see everything from the view of the shark, and it's underwater. And that makes it all the more suspenseful. And the reason behind not showing the shark until the end is because the shark machine kept breaking. It kept breaking as they were filming this movie, so they weren't allowed to show it a lot, which worked for the better. They had planned to show Jaws a lot more in this movie, but they kept him underwater for the majority of the time. It worked so well, because when we don't see this shark, it makes it all the more suspenseful. And you can't do a Jaws review without talking about John Williams' score. It's one of his first scores that he did. His simple little theme that's literally just like... has just become one of the most iconic themes of all time. Whenever you hear that music, you know that Jaws is around. You know that he's about to do something bad, and it's like, it's so good. Like, just John Williams' score, it's just a simple theme, but it managed to be so great. It's some of the most suspenseful filmmaking that I've ever seen in my life, and this movie came out in the 70s. And it's accomplished a lot more than movies today even can. And I mentioned how throughout most of the movie they don't really show the shark, he's underwater. And then the first scene where they fully show the shark is the best thing ever. Because it's just like, Roy is just like throwing stuff in the water, and then the shark just comes out all of a sudden, he's just out of nowhere. I love how abrupt that was, and then Roy's just like, ugh, and then the shark immediately goes back down after. I love that scene! And then he walks in to Robert Shaw's area where he's working on something, and he's just like...
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Which is an improvised line. Roy Scheider completely made that up on the spot, and Spielberg kept it in. The climax of this movie is absolutely gripping and fantastic. All of it is just so good. Jaws is a masterpiece, like especially with all the sets breaking and all the stuff Spielberg had to deal with while making this movie. The stuff that they were able to accomplish is groundbreaking. Jaws is a masterpiece. It's Jaws. There's not really much else I can say about Jaws that nobody else has said. It's an absolute masterpiece of filmmaking, and I'm gonna give Jaws an A+. So guys, that was Jaws, one of Spielberg's best movies in my opinion, and probably a lot of other people's opinions. Next time, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. I might do Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and I also might do E.T., and I also might do Hook. So I don't know which ones I'm gonna be able to do. We'll see, because there's not that much time until BFG comes out. We'll see what I'm gonna do, and I'm probably gonna do one of those three. But yeah, if you like this video, be sure to like it, be sure to subscribe, be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye.